So YouTube right now is a little bit strange because some folks are having problems seeing my videos pop up in their subscriptions, even though I'm uploading videos. So to help you guys out with that real quick, you have the subscription icon right here, and then next to it, there should be a bell. In fact, for all my videos, that should be the case. Subscribe, the bell right next to it. So if you're not subscribed, what you should do, subscribe, then you have the bell, you click on the bell, then you have notifications from King of Lightning, you click on that box right here, then you click on save, obviously. That should help you guys be far more aware of when I'm uploading videos to the channel. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what is up? The king of Lightning is here today, bringing you guys and gals One Piece. Whoa, chapter 855 and 856 review. Now, I apologize for not getting the reviews out earlier. Life, what the fuck is this? Dude, wait, what? I apologize for not getting the reviews out there earlier. Life demanded my presence elsewhere, but here I am back once again. There is no One Piece this week, so I have One Piece content for you guys. Not just this video, but also other videos, probably tomorrow and Saturday as well, though tomorrow I'm going to Brooklyn. It is what is there. That being said, let's get on with the review, because can Oda fuck this up? There is a good chance that he can, given how Oda's writing style probably isn't going to lead to the outcome that I think would be sufficient enough for Sanji to make good character development. Right now what we're getting here is highlight on Sanji's characterization here. One component in particular, his kindness. But as a character, Sanji, I think, should change, should grow as a result of his arc. And so far, I have this gut feeling that's saying Oda isn't going to do the necessary character development. I mean, shit. You know what? Before I get to the review section, let's just talk for a little bit here, right? When you have characters like Usopp that went through some, I would say, solid character development, and then after the time skip, Usopp comes back to Fisherman Island. He seems to be confident, you know, chin up. Yeah, we got this shit. And then he reverts back to being the bitch. It's like, what? What? One of the main things that we got from Usopp was a clear increase in his confidence and his courage. But I guess for like comedic purposes, they kept Usopp. I mean, like, I'm not saying like he shouldn't be scared, but it should be far more apparent his bravery and his courage. He had a lot of confidence in Fisherman Island. And then when Punk Hazard hit, it was like, huh? That was a shame. Then you have someone like Monkey D. Luffy, who, despite everything that he went through, Shabonia Archipelago, Impelled Down, Marineford, losing Ace, going through all that shit, and then the time skip hits, and then Luffy makes really no character development. Maybe there's an argument there that he did grow, but I don't really see it. And then one day I'll make a more in-depth video on that. For now, I'll leave it at that. What I don't want to see is Sanji follow the same route as Luffy and Usopp in these regards. My ideal would be for Sanji to make some character development. Some. It doesn't have to be a lot, even though I like a lot. Some character development I think would be fine. But given Oda's writing style, given how we've seen this current trend with certain characters, is that going to happen? So, we'll get back to this later. First of all, chapter 855 review. Pacing, story progression, and characterization. Now, when it comes to pacing / chapter structure, we have about four.
You done fucked it up!
Four parts here. First and foremost, we have the Bobbin part. Then after the Bobbin part, we have the Big Mom in bed part, where you have Nami and company trying to save Brook. Afterwards, you have them successfully save Brook, and then they have the copies of the poneglyphs, and then now they're on the next stage of their mission, which is to get Sanji back. Finally, we have part 4, where at the end of the chapter, Sanji finally finds Luffy. And then on top of that, it is beforehand seeing like a page or two in between parts 1, 2, and 3, where Sanji's running around Sweet City trying to find where Luffy is. He gets chased by a dog and so on and so forth. Overall, relatively fine. And I did actually like how they incorporated, like, let's say 1 or 2 pages of Sanji progressing through Sweet City trying to find Luffy, as you have the stuff going on with Bobbin, Big Mom, and then finally the saved Brook. So that right there is the pacing / chapter structure. Next, moving on to characterization. Now, first and foremost, we have Bobbin. First of all, he's Bobbin the Fixer. That's his moniker, the Fixer. And he has a bounty of 105.5 million berry. He is a bishop soldier of the Big Mom Pirates. So I would assume he's a part of that chess piece army, considering how he's a bishop soldier. But when you compare him to like the rest of the, like, let's say pawns and the rooks and whatever, he seems to be on a higher echelon, hence his bounty and also his ability. Now, this would be interesting too, because I'm not too sure. Can these humanized entities eat devil fruits? That's interesting, because they're technically not like living beings, but if they have a human soul in them, then they become humanized. So if they're humanized now, can they eat devil fruits and therefore attain devil fruit powers? And so if that's the case, that actually speaks more towards devil fruits than anything else. But it's a very fascinating thing. I wonder how that plays out. But ultimately speaking, that is the case there. He is a bishop soldier. He has this ability of kind of like hypnosis or some type of like sleeping thing where like he bobs his head back and forth, and then one of the guys that checks what's going on here, Lord Bobbin, what's going on, and then he gets knocked out. So he has an ability where when you swing the thing back and forth, like you just watch it go like that and that and that, and snap your fingers, and then you're under hypnosis. So I think it is like hypnosis. I'm pretty sure it is. But mind you, like when he's doing that, he doesn't say fall asleep. He just says, stand down, I'll fix this. It could be, it couldn't be, I'm not too sure. Django over here, I don't know, who knows. But it's fascinating nonetheless. He does have an ability of some kind, and we get to find out more about Bobbin. Number 2 is the insane big bitch herself, Bigu Mamu. Well, we get to see a little more of the powers that are always around her. Napoleon, the hat, Prometheus, the sun, and Zeus, the thundercloud, the thunderhead, what do you want to call him. Not mainly from Zeus, but we get to see some stuff from Prometheus and from Napoleon. Mainly Napoleon, because that's new. A component of Napoleon's Jolly Roger is a sword, and because of that reason, like a sword just came out of the top of the hat area. And since there's a handle on the opposite side, that may allude to Big Mom, maybe, that's a key word there, having some degree of swordsmanship. The insane big bitch doing like Itoriu shit. Listen, all right, listen. I'm just saying that because Napoleon is a sword, maybe if Big Mom needed to, she could just grab Napoleon and swing him around and do sword skills. If she has any sword skills, that's so that's number 1 for her. Number 2 for her is she does this thing called Heavenly Fire, where she grabs Prometheus, and we don't see what happens exactly, but the result is when she thinks that the fly is still there, even though it's Nami and Brooke, because Brooke kind of freaked out about seeing his double, it's a ghost, and then Jinbei came in there like the flying fishman falcon ninja that he is, saved their ass. But she grabbed Prometheus, and then the end result was this attack called Heavenly Fire, and that section of the room was immediately ablaze, and then she went right back to sleep. So we get to see a technique of Big Mom's, and how it worked exactly, I'm not too sure. But we have seen Zeus and Prometheus on each of Big Mom's hands. So my assumption would be was that when she grabbed Prometheus, and then instead of taking like a sun form, he became like a flame form, or like her hand came on fire, and then like she just like boom, and then fire. So Heavenly Fire, that's what it's called. And that is it for Big Mom's characterization. Finally, for characterization, I would give a bit for Brooke, just how impressive it was for Brooke to get the rubbings, the copies of the poneglyphs, given the situation where someone like Big Mom had come in. Basically, it just fortifies the resolve that Brooke has. He's a joker, he's a clown, he has skull jokes, he does it all the time. But when Brooke has to buckle down and get the job done, Brooke can buckle down and get the job done. Even though half the time, he's always fucking around with his dick out. Granted, he has no dick. The fact, I would assume so, hence being all boned, the fact of the matter is Brooke did what he needed to do. So that is characterization, mainly, once again, for Bobbin and for Big Mom, and then Brooke gets some in the form of strengthening his resolve. Finally, we have story progression. For the arc in of itself, you have a few things. You have number 1, Sanji meeting Luffy. For number 2, you have Brooke being saved literally via the clutches of Big Mom. Then you have Bobbin, he's on the move to hunt down Sanji, and we get to see an ability of his. So for the sake of the arc, you have those 3 main things. But then you have the last thing, which is not only for the arc, but for the overall story, a big leap, which is Brooke getting the copies of the poneglyphs. Now, we knew at some point it was going to happen, but the fact that it has happened has progressed the story massively in many ways. Not only in the sense of the arc, because Brooke, he understood that if Sanji was going to stay here, at the very least, the Strike crew could come back with something of great benefit to their captain Luffy and others like Nico Robin, but also for the overall story when it comes to reaching the One Piece itself. They have half of the necessary information needed to get to Raftel. Assuming that they do get out and everything's a-okay, they have the poneglyphs, they have Sanji, they already know the location of the third one, and that's in Kaido's possession. All they gotta do is go to Kaido, get his copy of the poneglyph that he has, the real poneglyph, and they are 75% on the way to Raftel. The map to Raftel, at least, completing it. That is extremely crucial. So that being said, folks, when it comes to the chapter rating, I'm going to say it was a great chapter of One Piece. Mainly, understand this, mainly that comes from the leap in story progression. You make a Herculean leap by attaining that piece necessary to becoming the Pirate King. When you exclude story progression, characterization, and pacing, nothing too great, okay plus a good. But it's the story progression that really puts the chapter ahead. So now we move on to chapter 856. Now when it comes to the pacing and the structure, the chapter structure of this chapter, number one, we have the stuff involving Jinbei and company in the Mirror World. They're gonna go get Sanji back, but they can't find where he is. However, Nami knows where Sanji might be. Something going on with Bobbin, and Bobbin gets decimated in the middle of Sweet City, in the middle of the rain, and then he collapses on the ground, and we see these shadowy figures in the middle of the rain. Then after that, we have a bit of the Vinsmoke family. We have Judge and company. They're drinking alcohol. They are really looking forward to the coming morning where they can finally team with Big Mom, and so on and so forth. So it looks like they do not know what's going on behind the scenes. It looks like, it appears that way. Then part 4, we have a little bit of Mont d'Or, and Mont d'Or appears to be heading all the surveillance, making sure that everything is a-okay for the wedding, all the doors are locked, and so on and so forth, that kind of stuff. And then finally, we have the last part of the chapter where it's Luffy and Sanji. The majority of the chapter is part 5, where it's Sanji feeding Luffy, then they discuss, and then so on and so forth there. And then Sanji reveals what he really wants, and then the plan here is to crash the wedding. Part 1 was a few pages. Parts like 2, 3, and 4 were like 1 page a pop. And then part 5 was really the vast majority of the chapter. The pacing I thought was fine, but not as good as the previous chapter. Number 2 for characterization, Nami and Sanji. First of all, Nami. When it comes to this characterization, this is a maybe kind of. So I'm stretching, I'm reaching for the moon here. When Jinbei talks to Nami and how Sanji, as a Vinsmoke, was obligated to do X, Y, and Z, Nami is aware about what's going to happen with Pudding and so on and so forth. When Jinbei is talking, you can see Nami's face. She's like she's kind of like pouting. And my guess is that she is regretful to what she did to Sanji when she smacked Sanji. She was completely oblivious to why Sanji was doing what he was doing. The Vinsmokes and how the Vinsmokes, they basically had taken the Bate restaurant hostage, and even the Strike crew hostage in a sense. How they themselves, the Strike crew, they got captured. How Sanji was trying to deal with Big Mom to save their lives. And how the entire time Sanji was basically trying to save his crewmates. And this whole thing was, of course, forced against his will. So basically, what we get from Nami via that face alone, again, reaching here, but given what we get from Nami via that face alone is a sense of remorse. And granted, Sanji's not on the right here completely, because mind you, even though there's huge context to why he did what he did, the fact of the matter is that he did beat up Luffy and whatnot. So he's not exactly in the right there. I mean, Luffy lost a fucking tooth because of that shit. So you can't really, say that he's in the right in that sense. But there is huge context to why he has to do what he has to do, why he's doing what he's doing. And then Nami fully understands that now. And then so when Jinbei starts talking about that, you can kind of see that she's thinking about what she did. And it's kind of like, fuck. So that's number 1. And again, that's reaching. But when it comes to characterization, this chapter is not big at all. It's mainly for story, which I'll get to real soon. But then we get on to Sanji. Though Luffy, you would think he gets some too, but not really, because it's basic standard Luffy. I mean, it is what it is there. But when it comes to Sanji for characterization, he understands that he's been lying to himself. But there's a component of Sanji that doesn't really understand what's really happening, like why he feels the way he feels and so on and so forth. And you think it would be kind of resolved after Reiju talked to Sanji, but Luffy's kind of the one that solidifies the whole thing of, well, this is just you. Like, you are who you are. And then it kind of like surprises Sanji that he feels the way he feels about not only the Barate guys, not only his Straw Hat crewmates, but also his Vinsmoke family, which to me I find stunning, shocking in many respects. And this for Sanji, I think, once again here, is the overinflation of one component of his character. The fact that Sanji still wants to save, the Vinsmoke family, because they're your family, you don't want really any harm to come down upon them, even though they have no qualms of doing the same to you. And that's why I find it a little bit like, really. Now, granted, when it comes to that side of his character, it also comes with the caveat of, with that kindness, if you want to consider the kindness the light, comes a, let's say, bigger shadow, which would be his anger in that sense. However, the kindness is clearly shining bright. Like, seriously, it's almost Jesus-like. Turn the other cheek completely. Like, even though your family fucked you over, turn the other cheek. What? That's where it's like, dude, when he said Reiju, that makes sense to me, because Reiju was the one that saved him, essentially, from the hell. But clearly, a major component of this is the drug that Sola took when she was pregnant with the kids. But I think it's just too much. I think it's, honest to God, just a little bit too much here. When did Sanji all of a sudden become Jesus? So let's move on from there, because there are still things that have to be hashed out in the future. Because I wonder if the shadow in this case, his anger, his rage towards all this shit, what I think is the epitome of his fire, will that then later on play a role in this as well? Like, what he got from the drug that his mom took, is it just kindness? Or is it something else? And I think it's going to be something else. Finally, we have the last part of the chapter review, which is the story progression, where clearly to me, this is the main meat of the chapter, even though Sanji does clearly get, once again, a lot of focus on his characterization from the standpoint of him lying to himself, therefore lying to others, but still ultimately wanting to save everybody because he's such a kind person. He's Jesus now. Not only does that part of the chapter give us a lot of stuff for the story progression, but it's also shadowy figures lurking behind the scenes. Whoa. So, Bobbin out of commission, which is pretty surprising. Apparently he was shot, probably like several times in the middle of the rain, by shadowy figures. Now, the shadowy figures, we can assume, are Capone and company, the Fire Tank Pirates. Because it is stated at the very beginning of the chapter via Jinbei, and this is a component of the story as well. Jinbei, and I'm assuming other Fishman friends, saved Peckham's, and if not for their intervention, Peckham's would have died. So for the sake of the story, not only do you have Peckham's being saved, but you also have, supposedly, the Fire Tank Pirates on the moves in the background. And they are probably going to play a major role in this upcoming wedding. I don't doubt it at all. So where Capone goes with that is going to be very intriguing. Like, I'm looking forward to that. Folks say the same thing about Drake. Where, like, Drake infiltrated Kaido's crew to then, like, let's say, attack Kaido from within. Possibly, who knows? But Capone, he is damn for sure doing that. And I like it. When it comes to this chapter of One Piece, chapter 856, I'm going to say that this chapter was a good to good plus chapter. Not as good as the previous chapter, because the previous chapter has so much for the overall story of One Piece. But this chapter for the arc has made some significant headway. Not only in Peckham's being saved off screen though, but he was saved, but also shadowy figures who are probably the Fire Tank Pirates on the move, but also Luffy and Sanji have now come to a consensus here. They're going to ruin the wedding, and Sanji's fully on board. So that being said, is Oda, or how can Oda mess this up when it comes to Sanji's character? Sanji, given his experiences, are going to be, I think, massive fuel for his rage. His rage is a key component of his power. We see with Hell's memories, and therefore the stronger the flame. Now, what I'm thinking is that if he does attain a power-up in some way, shape, or form, that won't occur in this arc, but maybe in like the next arc. However, when it comes to his character, I really believe that his character should make some change in the sense of, let's say, kicking a woman for the first time. And of course, that female being Pudding. Fuck Pudding. But it could be Big Mom. Given all the stuff that was going on in the background with the plots and the plans and the hopes and dreams that he had to at least have a decent marriage at the cost of him sacrificing himself. this is, yo, when I think about it now, it is so fucking Jesus-like. It is insane. The sacrifice, man. So Sanji sacrificing what he really wanted, what his happiness for his friends, for his family, for his foster family, that kind of stuff. No mas. Because at the end of the day, Big Mom is a sick and evil, twisted bitch, and Pudding apparently is no different than her mama. And we know that Sanji, even if he died, he wasn't going to kick a woman. He wasn't going to kick Khalifa. However, if someone else important to him were to maybe reach death's door, or were on the verge of dying because of Pudding, because of Big Mom, whoever the fuck, would Sanji then be willing to kick a female? Are there women that are unforgivable enough to where they deserve to get the boot? And given all the trauma thus far that he suffered, will Sanji be able to develop as a character, put aside his chivalry, put aside his creed, and do what has to be done for the benefit of those he loves? Those that he truly loves. That, I think, should happen. And that, I think, is minor for his character, in all honesty. What would be major is if, as a result of his actions, someone that he did love did die. Someone like Zeph. Someone like, let's say, Duval, whatever. If he did get the head of someone that he loved in the mail later on. That, I think, would be huge for his character. Because then his character, I would say, would have to make certain changes. Because he's not a retard like Luffy. Luffy, shit just happened. Ace can die in front of him. He can go through like some traumatic shit and he'll still be the same Luffy. If that happened to any other character in the Shrek crew, I would say character development would be necessary. If not, then, I mean, that's shame on Oda for just doing bad writing, I would say. What I think is more likely is at least him kicking a woman, whether it be Big Mom, whether it be Pudding. That's my guess there. Would Oda actually kill Zeph or Duval? I don't think so. But even still, there's the possibility of Oda doing none of that shit and giving Sanji no character development during his arc. That's where Oda could fuck shit up. Alright? I don't want Oda to make Sanji out to be like Luffy, where ultimately you go through all of this shit and you don't change as a character. Luffy may have a hatred for Akainu, Luffy may have a hatred for Blackbeard, but him attaining hatred for someone because they played a role in Ace's death is not really grounds for him to change as a character. Usopp has made some ground changing as a character, and if for some reason, like, he reverts back, I don't know why, but he does. Sanji should make some changes as a character. At the very least, he should be able to throw aside his chivalry if necessary. So that being said, folks, I am done. Of course, let me know what your thoughts on the matter at hand are, and I will see you cats later. So King of Lightning, rate the video, comment, and subscribe as always. Peace. Have a nice goddamn day.